Well, as most of us know by now, the May 1st and 2nd rainfalls across the Volunteer State was one of the most damaging weather events in our lifetime. Over a foot of heavy rains fell over many sections of West and Middle Tennessee, taking the lives of more than 20 people and leaving behind a path of debris and destruction that will take months to clean up. And while the major television stations rightfully focused on the urban areas affected by the storms, we traveled to visit with some of the rural areas hit hardest. We talked with dairy and row crop farmers in Maury and Hickman counties. But first, Melissa Burniston shows us the devastation to a produce farmer in Williamson County.
We had 13 inches of rain in about a 24-hour period over Saturday and Sunday, part of Saturday and part of Sunday. And 13 inches of rain, the Harpeth River and the little creek that runs into the river just could not handle it. It just started backing up.
As the first weekend in May dawned in Middle Tennessee, it looked to be one of the best growing seasons in years for area farmers, with a timely rain last weekend and good weather for planting, allowing most to be finished with corn planting. And for the Delvins in Williamson County, their fruits and vegetable crops were looking great.
We went really from one of the best looking years of crops we've had in a long time, because we had a late cool spring, but it helped the cold crops out really well. We went from super crops to devastation, and now we've lost probably 50% of all the early stuff. My biggest problem we had Saturday was the Small Creek backing up, and then yesterday was the Harpeth got really rampaging and just came through the fields with a vengeance. And but everything has gone back down today, so we can kind of survey the devastation and surveying the damage.
The Delvins have almost 200 acres of fruit and vegetable production where they raise produce for farmers markets and a CSA program where community members buy a share for the season and receive a bushel box of whatever is ripe every week. The Delvins have more than 600 people in their CSA, with sign-ups still available for up to 800 shares. But even facing 50% of their crops gone, the Delvins seem hopeful for a good year.
The only good thing is that we do have plenty of plants in the greenhouse. We'll start planting right back as soon as it dries up. So we're fortunate in that aspect that we do have enough plants to plant back most of the stuff. Some plants we don't, but most of the stuff we have are able to plant them right back. So it just puts us behind, maybe 2 or 3 weeks behind on certain crops that we'll have to harvest. All this, what you feel you see behind you, was halfway up this field this morning, so it really got away fast today. So, and then the sun's out today, it really feels a lot better. So, this like I said, we see our damage, but we see hope on the horizon.
I've told a few people I'm 54 years old, and I've been on this place all my life, and I've just never seen the water this high along Leapers Creek. It's history-making event.
It's a record not only to me, it's a record to anybody that's living today.
For farmers Jerry Gardner of Maury County and Danny Rochelle of Hickman County, the historic flooding on their farms will hopefully be a once-in-a-lifetime event, but definitely one they'll never forget. Hickman County was in the path of some of the heaviest rains to fall in the state, and the Duck River had all it could take.
I've had my rain gauge run over 2 times, and we've still had 14 inches of rain with that. This stretch of bottom here behind us was planted about the middle of April. It was planted into corn. We had it up to a good stand, and we were worried about the dry weather back then, and the topic of conversation was, is it going to be a dry summer, as dry as it is now, and we were worried about our hay crop too. This is a high bottom area along the river here, and very rarely does the river get into these bottoms. It has to be an awfully big rise for the river to even come out and cover this. So this is a really unusual circumstance for us, and it's been such a high volume of water come down the river, I'm expecting a whole lot more damage.
Rochelle says he lost some 260 acres of corn on these fertile river bottoms, and though he did have crop insurance, that will only cover a small portion of his losses. It won't include the expenses of replacing downed fences and debris removal that was scattered by the water, and that's a story played out by farmers statewide as they have to contend with and depend on Mother Nature.
Our main problem now is just damage to low-lying fields along the creek. That's where most of my cropland and my hay land is, and it's got some pretty severe damage that I'll have to deal with.
You learn to deal with these issues as you farm, and you accept that with a certain amount of tranquility. You know that there's so much in farming and agriculture that is beyond your control, and we try to do our management practices right and do all those things that's within our control right, but one thing we can't control is the weather. And I'll tell you what, this past Saturday night, I was a little bit anxious. It was a little bit hard to sleep, tossing and turning, but once you get past that, you accept it, and you know, there's been no loss of life here close to us. We're thankful for that. We know a lot of people have been lost in the flood, and that's our real concern. So many people have lost their homes and their personal property and everything they have, and our hearts go out to those folks. But we're just really fortunate to have lost just our corn crop. So.
And our thoughts and prayers go out to all the victims of the floods. And although our report focused on the flooding in the mid-state, there are several other counties in Middle and West Tennessee that have had severe damage. Dyer County in the northwest corner of the state was practically all underwater, and the counties around Memphis were devastated as well. And the Farm Service Agency is working quickly to assess the damage in each county to hopefully get a disaster declaration from the Secretary of Agriculture.